Good day, YouTube. This is kind of a vlog. Let's talk a little bit, eh? So I've had a few people asking me what's going on because I've talked about dark thoughts and everything on Facebook and stuff like that. I've had a lot of things going on in my life. Any of you that have watched the Heart to Hearts, you know about how I have major depressive disorder. You know how I have anxiety, how I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I had my first marriage. It lasted a long time. I had 3 kids in that first marriage. It was 14 years. We were toxic for each other. I wasn't a good person. She wasn't good for me. I wasn't good for her. She wasn't as good as she thinks she was. We both had problems, and we both made mistakes. Things happened. I left. Well, she left. We broke up. Things happened. Fast forward a bunch of years. I'm married to a girl I fell in love with in high school, and I never told. And it took almost 20 years for me to tell her how I felt about her in high school, and I found out she felt the same way. And we got together, we got married, we have an amalgamated family. We have a mixed family, and it's a great family. We all love each other. We all love each other as if the children were our own. And I have not been happier. In the time I'm with her, I got off my antidepressants. We made a huge move. We left Ontario. We came to the Arctic. We made a plan on what we wanted in life, and we're like, we cannot get this in Ontario, so it's time to leave. So we left. Just me and her and 2 of the kids. And then COVID happened, and we got locked in the Arctic for a year and a half. We went back to visit, and we came back, me and her, and now 3 of the 5 kids. And things have been great and loving and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden one day she woke up and she wasn't feeling great. She was dizzy, she was puking, she was having diarrhea, black stenchy diarrhea. And she stayed home, and I went to work, and she called me. She's like, Chad, can you bring me home a Gatorade? Yeah, that's right. Some of you don't know my real name. It's Chad. Can you bring me home a Gatorade? I'm really, really thirsty. Okay. I drop everything I'm doing. I go and get a Gatorade. I run home. I bring it into her. She's still in bed. She's cold and clammy. Her lips are like the color of my fucking beard. I look at her and I go, it's time for you to go to the hospital. She's like, what? I go, we need to take you to the hospital. Okay, so I call. Oh, you gotta bring her. I'm blind, I can't bring her. Okay, we'll get a driver. No, you don't understand, she needs the ambulance. No, we'll get a driver. They send a bus. They send the elders bus here to pick her up. So we get her in the bus. I go back to work, not thinking anything of it. But half an hour later, I end up going to the hospital and switching out with my daughter. She's already been brought into the room. I get brought into the room with her. And she's even paler now. They're doing her blood pressure, and it's almost 0. Like, it's low. She passes out. All of a sudden, in an Arctic hospital that only has a couple doctors and a couple nurses, there's 6 nurses and 3 doctors in the room, and we're wheeling her out, and she has internal bleeding. Don't know where she's bleeding internally from, so they have her hooked up to IVs. There's 5 bags hanging. There's blood. There's fucking 4 different medications. There's there's everything. Like, we don't know where you're bleeding from. You need to go to Montreal. So we have a Challenger jet. The Challenger jet is the hospital jet. It's the ambulance jet. And the first day they call and they're like, okay, we'll be there tonight. And then they call back and they're like, you know what, you're too far, we're not coming. Well, we have 3 patients. Yeah, we don't want to come. You're too far. Next day, 2 flights from the Challenger. They can't come either time because they're picking people up for COVID. Nobody believes in COVID up here. You know, COVID's completely fake. Vaccines are part of the devil. I shouldn't say nobody. there are a lot of people that understand what's going on, but there's an outbreak, and if any of you have watched the news, you've seen what the outbreak in the Arctic has been like. So we usually have 2 challengers. We only have 1 right now because the other one's broken. So the other one is on the other coast. It does 2 runs on the other coast for COVID. The next day, it does another 2 runs on the other coast for COVID. So the doctors are like, you need to get to the south to find out what's wrong with you. We're going to send you commercial to the south. We've stabilized you as much as we can stabilize you. We're going to send you commercial to the south. And she gets to the south and she goes in and they're like, they sent you on a commercial jet. And she's like, well, I had to get here. Did you want me to walk? Right? Because she's her. At one point, they were putting a Foley catheter in her up here in PUV, and I was in the room with her, and they're like, is it okay if he stays in the room with you? And she looks at them and she goes, he buries his face in my crotch almost nightly. It doesn't matter if he sees you put that in my... And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to be here. Anyway. So all this has happened. She went in, and when she went in, I haven't been able to sleep since. And why have I not been able to sleep since? Because in the entire time I've been with her, basically from the first date, we have not been apart. And I mean, maybe making up for lost time, maybe just what it is that we had with each other from earlier in our lives. We have not really been apart at all, and it's the weirdest thing ever. And I can't sleep without her beside me, and I'm freaking out because I watched her almost die on a gurney. So I'm freaked out. I can't sleep. In my sleep deprivation, some of my BPD symptoms start coming back up. Some of the other stuff that's happened to me starts coming back up. Some of my depression starts coming back up. Start getting a little bit of thoughts that I shouldn't have. During that time, I started thinking back on other things that have happened, and some of the blockages I've had in my mind start dropping because I've had a lot of trauma in my youth, and I put up walls about a lot of them. And we talked one night about something we were talking about sexual assault one night because I was sexually assaulted up here while I was working. And we were talking about how I felt about things. And I'm like, there's something that ever since that happened that just keeps flashing in my mind. And I don't know what it is, but it doesn't make me feel right. She's like, well, one day maybe you'll know. A week after not sleeping, it came out. One of my stepfathers did something to me. And as soon as it opened up, as soon as the cloud opened and I saw it perfectly in my mind, I was like, oh fuck. And things haven't been the same right with me since. So I'm already not sleeping because I'm worried about my wife. I'm already freaking out because I'm taking care of 3 kids, 2 dogs, and working a job that's 50 plus hours a week. I'm freaking out because even more trauma on top of the other trauma that's happened to me in my life has surfaced. And you sit there and like most people that have this type of stuff happen to them, they're like, why me? What did I do? And I think that quite often. Like, I won the genetic lottery. I'm fucking albino. I have fucking morphia. I'm not doing great. Unless you like Santa Claus, and then I'm doing amazing. I've had horrible luck, and I shouldn't say I've had a horrible life. There are a lot of people that have had worse. I've had horrible luck. If I wasn't Irish, I'd have no luck at all. I've had horrible luck in the relationship department. I've had horrible luck in the personal department. I've had horrible luck in the genetics department. And I'm freaking out about that stuff. And then I'm trying to get a hold of her, and I hear nothing for the first little bit. And then I start hearing a few things, Oh, I have an endoscopy to check my upper GI tract. They found nothing. They're going to do a colonoscopy in a few days. Colonoscopy came by, there's nothing. My hemoglobin all of a sudden is good. They have no idea where I've been bleeding from. But apparently I look good. They're not letting me out, though, because they have no idea where I'm bleeding from. So I'm sitting up here freaking out that my wife is dying. And my wife is obviously a medical mystery, which is fucked up. And this is more about her than about me, but if she didn't leave, I don't know if this would have opened up. And I started remembering other things that happened that we'll get into on other videos, but one of my brothers is a recluse. He doesn't leave his room much. And my curiosity is, since the person that did something to me may or may not have been his dad. It was his dad. Did that person do something to him? And that thought makes me feel horrible that when I was married to my ex-wife and my brother asked to move in with me, I said no. Because my ex-wife didn't want to deal with him. So I said no. I turned my back on him. And that worries me, that I helped facilitate where he's at now. I don't even know why I made this. I think just to talk to somebody, because I have nobody to talk to up here. I'm up here alone. I'm up here with 3 kids and 2 dogs. I have some coworkers, but they're not going to understand. I'm not going to say to them, hey, guess what? Somebody grabbed my dick and made me grab theirs when I was like 11 years old. It's not. Yeah, I gotta go. Bye.